I'm back inside, and it's much better in here. Welcome back, everybody. Money is often a leading cause of stress in relationships. We all know that. And in these tough times, many couples are feeling that stress big time. In today's Money Monday segment, financial advisor Rob Wilson is here with some help managing the relationship between you, your mate, and your money. Rob, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, good. Cold, can you tell?
Glad that you're back inside.
Me too, my friend. Let's talk about relationships and money and how we can improve both by proper management.
Yeah, you know, money is often a cause of stress in relationships. I mean, relationships are already difficult, and you throw in a recession and unemployment, one spouse working, you know, one not,
right.
And your relationship can quickly become even more difficult to maintain. But yeah, doing a couple of things, I think you can manage that sort of three-way relationship between you, your money, and your mate. I think the first issue is that, you know what, no one really ever taught us, you know, about how to manage your money. It's just one of those things that you're supposed to know.
Right, you just, we're expected to pick it up as we go along, you know, and some people are better suited for it than others.
Well, absolutely, and when you have two people who can have very different views on managing money, it can be, you know, a very big point of contention in a relationship.
Yeah, and it didn't used to be as much of one, Rob, I would imagine. Just let me interrupt for a second, because women today are making a lot more money than they were when when I was your age, for that matter, but certainly when I was a kid, you know, I mean, probably less than 5% of the women in the workforce made more than men.
I tell you what, that is a great point. There's a study out right now that says in 2007, about 23% of women made more than their husbands.
Okay,
and that percentage was about 4% in 1970.
Wow.
So the roles are changing right now. You know, you watch all the old shows. It used to be the guy was the breadwinner, go out to work, and the woman stayed at home.
Called the shots, was in charge, made the money decisions, but not now.
It's not like that so much, but the societal pressure is still there, and I'm not sure that women or men right now are ready for that role reversal right now.
So
it can be difficult.
Still in transition.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the pressure's still there on the man. So if you're the man and your wife makes more, your friends might have something to say about that. You know, there's still pressure out there, so it can be a big problem in relationships.
Okay, so that's something to discuss, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? In relationships in general, opposites attract, and that's the same thing when it comes to your money. So typically, a saver will get with a spender, or someone who's feels like they want to take risk with their investments will get with somebody who's very risk averse.
That's me and my wife.
Right. And these things have been taboo to even talk about. So, you know, you meet somebody at a restaurant or a bar or something, you don't start talking about what your credit score is. But eventually, if you're thinking about if you want to be with someone for the long term, you got to have these conversations very early.
Right. Well, and it helps, I would imagine, to discuss financial matters in the event that something as common and as simple as a rejected credit card occurs. Say you're at dinner and the card comes back. I mean, that can be an embarrassing moment, but if you've discussed finances with your significant other, it makes it easier.
Or that is a sign that you might want to have a discussion if that card gets declined. If that comes up, you may want to know what the other person is doing. And so, you know, these are things that you have to talk about. You have to have the discussion, or it's going to come up at some point. So if you can drive it and not have it come up at a very stressful time, it'll be easier.
Moment,
you don't want to start talking about this when the rent is past due or the credit card bills are past due. Find a time when it's less stressful in the middle of the month. Go out for a nice walk or jog and talk about these things when it can be you have a civilized conversation.
Gotcha. All right, give us some other tips.
Well, there's a couple of issues that come up very often. So do you want to have separate or joint accounts? You probably need both, in my opinion. There are things that are going to affect both of you, like the utilities and the rent and so forth. But you should have your own spending money and take care of that on your own. And also, how are you going to share the bills? Do you split it 50-50, or does the spouse that makes more take on a bigger burden of the bill? There's also an issue about paying debt. Some, you know, people may come into the relationship with a lot of debt, student loans and so forth. How are you going to manage, you know, paying that debt back? And you've got to set your goals together. Maybe one spouse wants to go back to school, start a business. You can have very differing goals. Men and women tend to think differently about money, so you've got to talk about what goals you have in the future.
How about, and this word is verboten in some circles, and some people think it means that, well, they didn't really love each other to begin with, if they had to set these kind of ground rules. But how about a prenup, a prenuptial agreement? Is that unromantic? Is it practical? What is it in your opinion?
It is a little unromantic, but I do think it is practical, and I get some flack from my female friends about this. But the misconception out there is that the prenup is about keeping money away from, in most cases, the wife. But I don't think it's about that. It's about keeping money away from the attorneys, from
the lawyers.
And if you need any more evidence that divorce is very costly, I mean, a lot of people have chosen to stay together, even though they really may not like each other too much anymore, because of the recession and because it's so costly to get divorced. So instead of going through a costly legal process of breaking your relationship up, figure that out first. I think a lot of people don't do prenups for the same reason they don't get insurance, because something bad has to happen in order for it to be useful.
To bring it to mind.
But, you know, hope for the best, plan for the worst, and if it does happen, at least you're protected.
All right. All right. Any other solutions for us before you go? Anything else that you want to mention?
Well, I'll tell you what, Valentine's Day is right around the corner, so you don't want to forget to order those flowers and everything. That can be a great way to keep your relationship going right if you don't forget Valentine's Day.
And that may be the best financial planning advice we've had today. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
We do appreciate it. Rob Wilson, of course, our financial advisor of Blazer Capital Management. Want to thank him for his regular Money Monday segments right here on Pittsburgh Today Live. Catch him again next week.